welcome to my what I read this year 2023 edition. I did manage to work my way through quite a few books, which I'm really pleased about because reading for me is either like I read a gazillion books in the space of a month or don't read at all for like 6 months. But I think I managed to pace myself evenly throughout the months, at least one book a month. So I think I did pretty well this year. And I do have a favourite, but I'll save that one and let you know which one it is when we get to it. So, first thing I read was, actually it wasn't the first thing I read, there's no particular order to this, but I read My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness. This is a pretty popular LGBTQ manga, graphic novel. I'm not sure which one it falls under, but it was quite funny and very honest, so I really enjoyed this one. Then I read the Frozen 2 manga. I've never actually seen the film, so reading this was actually quite interesting, and the art is really pretty as well. Elsa is one of my favourite Disney characters. I just relate to her a lot. I think that's older sister trauma. Then A Man and His Cat. This might be my favourite manga of this year. It's so cute. It's a story about this older businessman who adopts a cat, Fukumaru, who's been in the pet store for a long time because no one wants him, and it's from the cat's perspective, and it's just, it's so cute. Look at it. I love this one. I love it so much that I was considering getting the cat tattooed at some point, and that's still a good idea. I think it was just really cute. I love it. Then I got Censor. This is a book by Junji Ito. As you can see, his wonderful classic style. And I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but it's about a girl that has magical angel hair from a volcano eruption, and she has like a cosmic connection to the universe. And it's really it was really interesting to read. I really enjoyed it. And this is like the first time being exposed to Junji Ito work, so it was a good introduction. I also read this, which is Shiver by Junji Ito. It's basically just full of short stories, and it also has like his notes and stuff on it. I know this has been made into a TV series in the meantime, but I haven't watched the TV series, but yeah, I read that this year. It's really good. I really like the concepts he introduces. Now, these are the Animal Crossing manga. There are 3 of them, and they're really quick and easy to read and quite fun and cute, so there's just, yeah, I think the 4th one is out now, but yeah, they're a nice quick easy read and help you get back into reading if you're not feeling as motivated as you normally would. And then finally I'm like pretty much all the way through this My Love Mix-Up manga. It's a story about 2 boys that have crushes on different people, but they end up accidentally thinking that each other's crush is on them, and then it's like boy meet cute. It's really cute. They're in high school and they have like all that teenage awkwardness, but it's also super sweet at the same time. There are some really cute like moments. So yeah, I've got up to volume 6. I don't know if another one has been released in the meantime, but yeah, these are quite a good series if you're looking to get into manga, I think it's cute, light-hearted, and sweet. Okay, so next I am going to go through the graphic novels I've read. This is a story about an introvert learning to do introvert things and try not to force themselves to be an extrovert. It's a really nicely drawn graphic novel and it's quite simple, so it was quite enjoyable actually. I quite enjoyed this. Next I read this Gloom Cookie series. It's basically a goth graphic novel. There's a lot of different mystical themes going on, which is really interesting because each character has a different storyline, but there are so many characters, so it can be a little confusing, but I really enjoyed it, and I got it from my local comic book store. They buy and sell, you know, second-hand comics, brand new comics, and I just saw this down in a dusty corner and I was like, these look cute. I mean, the art is so different, and I was like, oh, I've got to actually buy these and read them. So I bought all three that they had in the store, but it was a good decision because I quite enjoyed it. Maybe not as much as other ones this year, but it's definitely at least a 6 out of 10. And then this one. This is The Girl from the Sea, and it's about a sulky teenage girl falling in love with a regular human girl, and it was just such a cute little teenage romance story. Like, honestly, it was such a sweet one. And then like look at the art, it's so colourful and so bright, and it's just really so beautiful. Like, this this graphic novel, it's just chef's kiss. Sorry for the weird lighting. The sun comes out, and like, even though I have the curtains up, it like manages to come through because my curtains are quite thin. But next I'm going to be talking about my non-fiction reads of the year. So this one is The Unexpected Joy of Being Single. I like to read these kind of books to remind me that it's okay not to be constantly pursuing dating and relationships in a world that constantly hypes it up and makes it out to be that like that's the only thing that you should be focusing on, and like if you want to be successful in life that you need to be in a relationship, and that's not true at all. And as someone who doesn't really date and doesn't like dating and prefers to be by myself, these kind of books are really helpful in just reminding me that yeah, being single is pretty good, and it's not a moral flaw to not be in a relationship. This one I picked up because it was so pretty. I don't know if you can see, but like there you go. It's like foiled, and it's basically a little book about space facts, and it's a really quick read. I really enjoyed it. I also have a book by the same in the same series, written by someone who is a dinosaur expert, and it's about dinosaurs. So yeah, this book was really cool. I really enjoyed how pretty it was, and it was just a quick, easy read, and it sort of just elaborated on topics that most people have common knowledge about, like black holes and gravity. So yeah, this was a good read. Then this one, Growing Young, by Marta Zaraska. I really enjoyed this book. I really, really enjoyed this book. It's a book on how, what you can do to keep yourself young, and like prolong your life in the long run. And there's some really interesting research and topics that are discussed in this book, especially like her research on this small Japanese town where everything is very socially focused. There's lots of activity centers, like all the neighbors know each other, and not surprisingly, the average lifespan there is much higher than anywhere else. I think in the world, but definitely in the country. And there's just a lot of different concepts and stuff in here, and I just really enjoyed this book. It was so good. I do recommend you checking this one out. And then last but not least, this masterpiece. Learning about children in the film industry and what it was like for Jennette McCurdy in the film industry was very eye-opening, I'd say. She went through a lot of trauma and abuse and mental illness, and she was so young, and it doesn't feel fair. I feel really bad for her, and I know people like to say that she's recovered now and she's doing much better, but I think we need to be careful about labeling what might be a pretty facade on the outside as recovery, and I think Jennette deserves the space to have, relapses and still struggle with things, and because we're all human and that's what happens. But this was a really good read. I finished this in 2 days, I think. I would have finished it in 1 day, but I had things to do. So yeah, this was a really good read. So last but not least, my fiction reads of the year. I'm going to start with ones that I've enjoyed and then finish with my favourite. So this book, Sweet Bean Paste, was really good. It's a Japanese story about a man who wasn't doing great in his life. So he starts working in a dorayaki shop, and there he encounters a schoolgirl and a old woman who lived in a leprosy colony, and a schoolgirl that has issues, like she's running away from home and stuff, and he's also like an alcoholic and has an ex-convict and has like issues of himself, and it's just a really heartwarming story about how all these people come together and fit into each other's lives and make a difference. Also, really interesting commentary on the Japanese leprosy colonies, which I didn't realise was a thing and still is a thing. But yeah, this book was really good. Next was Pizza Girl. This is a short read. I think it's only like 180 pages long. It's about a pregnant teenage girl who works for a pizza company, and she becomes obsessed with one of the customers. It was a good short read, maybe not necessarily my type of thing, but I quite enjoyed it. Brown Girls by Daphne Palissy Andreades. This is just a story following different brown girls essentially, and it was really interesting to read into that sort of culture and lifestyle and like perspective on different things in the world, and I really enjoyed just sort of broadening my horizons with this book. Wasn't necessarily the most entertaining, but it was, you know, a quick enough read that I didn't get bored, so that was fun. 13 Ways to Look at a Fat Girl by Mona Awad. I remember reading this and didn't think much of it. It kind of bored me. It wasn't really cohesive or coherent. It wasn't my thing, but it was still a decent read. Idle Burning. This is about a super fan of a K-pop, or is it J-pop? I think it might be J-pop. Superstar who gets cancelled online, and this is like their super fan having a spiral about them getting cancelled online. I actually really did enjoy this. This was quite a good read, and it's very short as well, so it's a nice quick one. Then I read The Sun and Her Flowers. I don't know if poetry counts as non-fiction. Well, it must do, because it's not like reporting or actual facts, but it's by Rupi Kaur, and I just really like her work. Her work speaks to me, and I think it speaks to most women and teenage girls, because we all experience like a similar sort of taste of womanhood, and her writing in this is very true and very raw and very real, and so it doesn't feel like it's just waffle about subjects you have no interest in. So yeah, I really enjoy her work. This was my summer novel. It's basically like an 80s slasher summer book. And it's about a girl that becomes possessed by a demon after spending a day on a lake boating in the summer, and her best friends bid to try and exorcise her and bring her back to her normal self. I really enjoyed this. If you like Stranger Things, you'll definitely enjoy this. Very good read, very good read. Falling in Love Montage. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. This is like a teenagey book about two girls that have a summer romance. I didn't really enjoy that much, but maybe it's because teen fiction really isn't my thing anymore. It was very cute in terms of like LGBT romance, but definitely not really my pace anymore. I read this, The Instant by Amy Liptrot. It's just basically like an abstract story covering a woman's life over I think a year or maybe a couple years. I really enjoyed it because it's a really different narrative, like a way of telling a story, and like there's different subjects in there where it makes the character feel very real and very 3D and solid, and so this was better than I remember it being. Like, not remember it being, but like thinking it was going to be, because I picked it up in Waterstones for like £1 in the clearance section, and I was like, oh, it might not be that good, but it was pretty good, and it was obviously a bargain. Then my mom bought me one of my childhood favourites. This is Ingrain the Brave. It's a classic childhood story. I adore this book. I adored it when I was younger. Rereading it, like, look at all the illustration. It's just so pretty. And I really did enjoy reading it when I was younger, and I quite enjoyed reading through it again as well. Obviously, it's for younger kids. I'd say like 7 and up. But despite me struggling a little with how young the content is, I did still really enjoy it. So that was good. Next one is Bunny. This was just such a bizarre story that I couldn't help but laugh. Most people that have read this said it's deeply unsettling and like more of a horror book, but I just found it so bizarre and kind of confusing that I just couldn't help but laugh at it. It's just it was so weird. I didn't quite mesh with the vibes, I suppose, but yeah, this was, you know, at least it gave me a laugh. And it wasn't like a failure as like a book that I haven't read or like didn't finish. But yeah, I think this is my like second favorite book of the year, and it's Mad Honey by Jodi Picoult and Jennifer Finney Boylan. And I loved this book. I really, really, really loved this book. It was so good, so interesting. It had covered many different topics. And I really recommend this book. Like, Jodi Picoult is one of my favorite adult authors. And honestly, like, this is a new classic. Like, it's so good. If you get the chance to read it, I would 100% recommend. And then last but not least, my favorite of the year, How to Kill Men and Get Away with It by Katie Brent. This book I cannot praise enough. It is everything I wanted and more in a book. If you like things like Netflix shows like Inventing Anna and Emily in Paris, you will love this book. I couldn't put it down. I read it in less than a day. Characters, plot, theming, narration, it's just all chef's kiss. And a sequel is coming out in 2024. I've got it on my pre-order wish list. But yes, definitely read. It is a brilliant sort of murder thriller mystery, and Katie Brent is such an amazing upcoming author. Like, honestly, I'm so excited to see all the rest of her work. I'm pretty sure she has another book out. It's not the same characters in the same series, but it's a different one, but it's a standalone, I think. But yes, this one, my favorite of all of the year. So good. I cannot recommend enough. And finally, last but not least, what I read on my Kindle. I don't know if you can see that one there. But it's called Barbara and the S Word. And it's basically like a book full of mini short stories about different people going through different things. And honestly, I was very confused by it all. because they didn't really specify in the synopsis that it was like a book full of short stories, so I assumed I'd be following the characters through the book, like once they were first introduced in each chapter, but they weren't, so I was having a really difficult time remembering all the different characters, and then I was thinking, when am I going to see them again? And you just didn't. It took me a long time to realise that they had a chapter each, but each chapter was really short and didn't really wrap up the story very well. It was very rushed for each character, so I didn't really enjoy it that much, but it was easy enough to read, and the first one I read on my Kindle this year, so well, at all. So I think, you know, for my first Kindle read, it was, you know, 5 out of 10. But yeah, that's all the books I've read this year, and on to next year with even more books to read. I'm really excited for quite a few different releases, and really excited to just get stuck back into reading, as I've taken a break over the holiday period to do more socialising. But yeah, those are my 2023 reads. Happy New Year, and I hope you have a good time reading as many books as you possibly can for the new year.